the burden is going to fall upon them. And we want good schools. I myself in the Barrington area have worked on several referendums in order to improve our own schools environment and to keep good teachers. And so I just wanted to share that with you tonight, that there are people out there that need to be educated on what a TIF does, why it's not good for school districts, and I've been kind of just sharing that at the door as well. So that's all I have to say. Thank you so much. And I'm going to head out because I was canvassing and now I got to go take care of my dogs.
No problem.
So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Is there anybody else that wishes to address the board? Okay. Then moving on to Board of Education comments. Is there anyone that has anything that you guys want to address from the board standpoint? Okay, then Eric.
Today we are on code number 10. Code number 10 says, I will strive for a positive working relationship with the superintendent, respecting the superintendent's authority to advise the board, implement board policy, and administer the district. The author goes on to say, what does this mean? You may have run for the job not liking the superintendent or the previous board. You may have a real grudge against past district decisions and blame current board members for them. And you may want to get rid of the superintendent and start over. If you ran on that platform without ever being on the board or working with the current superintendent, you must still operate within legal and customary codes of conduct. Learn the complex interactions of a school board and its leadership, as well as the complexity of the superintendent's role. Act respectfully and be a good learner. If you later feel you were right, you will then understand the process of change and can work far more effectively within the appropriate parameters. Thank you.
We will now hear, moving on to the District 75 reports. Now hear the report of the business office first.
Good evening. It is very much the business season in the business office, much like the rest of the district. And with that, there are a number of items presented to you this evening. So for all of the reading, I apologize in advance. The first item is the preliminary budget assumptions. We are well into the development of the district's budget for the 24-25 fiscal year. Since many factors that impact the new budget are not yet known in this early stage of development, included in your packet are the guidelines, assumptions, and parameters that will be used until we get those final numbers. There's also a timeline included, but the short version is that a preliminary budget will be presented in June. We will ensure that it is posted for 30 days for public review, and a final budget presentation will be shared in August for your approval. You will also see a number of resolutions under action items that are required for transparency to ensure clarity on who carries which responsibilities within the organization. So there's the designation and appointment of treasurer and assistant treasurer. So the treasurer will be myself and the assistant treasurer will be T, who you know quite well and is outstanding. There is a resolution approving the surety bond, and that is an additional insurance for the treasurer and is required. There's also a designation of all of the depositories and signatories. So over the course of the year, what we've done is we reviewed the lists of all of our banking institutions, who can deposit, who can sign, and cleaning up a couple of those items. There is a designation of appointment of the budget officer. School requires that this be specified every year, and that will continue to be T. There's designation on interest earnings, and that is an annual resolution required to retain the ability to transfer interest between each of our funds. There's an organization certificate. So much like the certificate of institution that you would get if you were forming an LLC or a corporation, this is just a document that we would use to go forward to establish that we are a school district, even though we've been in place for forever. Having a document like this makes it much easier as we're transacting business. We also have included recommendations for breakfast and lunch rates. We're recommending a slight increase to lunch to $3.85 for lunch and a slight increase to breakfast to $2.23. There's also a resolution to continue identification of serious safety and hazardous buzzing conditions, the details of which are in your packet. The authorization to use temporary facilities for both Washington Elementary as well as Mechanics Grove. That's quite a bit of summary. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
How often do we have to do the resolution for temporary facilities at Washington and MG?
Those are required every year.
Every year. Okay. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. Now hear from the Office of Public Relations.
Good evening. Tonight I'd like to give you an overview of our social media efforts in District 75. And I want to explain how it helps our overall public relations efforts and kind of compare the analytics I'll present with the numbers from last year. I'll also present some comparative numbers of those who viewed our board meetings on Zoom and those who watched it on YouTube on our website later. So we go to the next slide. District 75 focuses its social media efforts on Facebook. So Facebook is far and away the most popular social media platform in the world. And we do have a number of parents, community members, especially moms, that do follow it. And so we do have a nice wide range of parents following. District 75 actually operates 5 different website or Facebook pages. One is a district Facebook page, and the other 4 are for the 4 schools. Our goal is to get the message out to our public about the good work that goes on in our schools and to build a better following so that even our important messages are then reaching a wider audience. So with the numbers I'll present tonight, you'll see that we're trending in the right direction based on these numbers. So let's go to the first. Well, before I get to that page, let me give you a quick explanation of what we're going to talk about. So the analytics are year over year. So I did April 1st, 22 to 23, and then 23 to 24. And then we looked at the categories of the number of posts from each page, the total people reached. Now the reach just means if you're on Facebook and something comes up in your feed, you see it. You might not click on it, you might not do anything, but it did reach you. So it reaches a certain number of people. And then the number of views is when someone clicks on that. And you might click on it and say, oh, let's take a look at what happened, Carl Sandburg, and they click on that, or they click on our page. So that's views. And then the number of followers is basically anyone who decides they want to follow us so that those posts always go into their feed and reaches them all the time. There's also engagement. So if someone views our post and is looking at it, they might like it, they might share it with someone else, or they might comment on it. Those 3 things are considered engagement. When you engage or you click on a post, usually that helps the Facebook algorithms to spread it further, especially if you share it with someone else. And Facebook pushes out that reach even farther. So that's the idea that we've got reach, views, followers, number of posts, and engagement. So let's look at the next page. We'll start with District 75. This District 75 page, by the way, doesn't just we'll post things that happen with the board, but it'll post anything that happens in the schools, especially if it's district-wide. We might have an author that goes to several schools, we'll post it here. The other thing I like to do with this page is if I post something like I did today on the Carl Sandburg page, I'll share it with the D75 page so the entire district audience can then see it. So I like to use this to kind of spread it out, anything going on in any of the schools. So at the top, you'll see we've got our analytics from last year and this year in the yellow, and followers, posts, reach, visits, engagement. We've increased our number of followers slightly to more than 2,000. Last year we had 1,860. We've averaged about a dozen posts each month, which is up from last year. And we had more people engage with those posts. Visits were up too. The one thing that was way down was reach. Now, like I said, reach is just